Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and over the past week there has been increasing amounts of information about the iPhone 12, the next version of the Apple Watch, iPhone 9, and much more. And so I wanted to cover these updates, and as long as there's new, reliable sources for these updates, I'll continue to cover them. So the first thing is iOS 13.4. It has been really buggy for some people, and it's been great for others. But there's been one major issue that Apple acknowledged for VPN issues where it may not be encrypting it. So I would expect to see maybe iOS 13.4.1 or iOS 13.5 betas this week or next week. Now, I can't confirm that at this time, but it looks like that's something they're going to be doing. Also, along with iOS 14, there's been some information that's come out about Apple CarKey and what it might look like when you try and unlock your car using your phone. So this should be really interesting. We'll know more about this in the future, but some of this information was leaked and it kind of looks like this. Now, as far as the Apple Watch, thanks to iUpdate and the verifier, there has been a lot of interesting news about Apple Watch. And the first thing has to do with the next Apple Watch having Touch ID or a fingerprint sensor built into either the display or the crown. And what that could mean is you either press the display with your finger to unlock it, or you could roll your finger along the crown for it to actually sense your fingerprint. So you could have that ability where it could sense your fingerprint that way, or it could be right on the end. It's hard to say, but Apple has been has had this in the works for some time, and it looks like that's something they're going to be bringing. It looks like they're also going to be bringing O2 saturation monitoring to the next version of Apple Watch. And what that would mean is it would just use your blood oxygen level monitored through your wrist instead of your fingertip like they do at hospitals to monitor your O2 saturation. So that'd be really nice. Seems like something they could do. Now, along with an updated Apple Watch version 6 or Series 6, we would have a faster CPU, as well as potentially faster Wi-Fi and LTE, which makes sense because the newer iPhones have Wi-Fi 6. And then also it looks like watchOS 7 is going to be a very big upgrade, but there's not a whole lot of details about that. And I would expect this. Last year's watchOS 6 didn't have a ton of new features in it, so I would expect a bigger update this year. And it also looks like Series 2 watches may not be supported. That's not 100% confirmed, but it's a possibility. Now, it looks like Apple continues to work on augmented reality, and with the new iPads Pro, with the new LiDAR sensor, it looks like they're continuing to go all in on that, but what that means specifically in the future for maybe a wearable device is hard to say, but it appears that Apple may be working on one for 2021, and we might see something along those lines where we could use augmented reality with glasses similar to Google Glass, but hopefully a little more stylish. I had Google Glass, and it was interesting for a while, but it didn't really add anything that my phone didn't. So hopefully Apple's found a way to make that much more useful. Now, other than augmented reality, it looks like Apple still may be working on their version of a wireless charger. This is just the AirPower wireless charger, one of them that I normally use, but by setting your phone down and charging, it's super convenient. It's all I really use these days, but in order to use that with a watch, and maybe other wireless devices in the future, it's a little bit of a pain. There are solutions out there, but if there was an AirPower version like Apple showed before where you just set your watch on it and it charges anywhere you set it, or your phone, that would be super convenient. And I hope that they do continue to work on this and release something, but it seems like that's still in the works. And that makes sense if Apple is going to go all wireless maybe in 2021 or 2022 with a new iPhone, meaning that they will have a completely wireless iPhone in the future. It seems like they're continuing to work on that, and that makes sense with iOS 14 having a wireless setup and restore without using a Mac or Windows. And so maybe they'll have that in the future. It's hard to say when or if. They continually test things and make sure they work right, but it seems like something that could definitely come out in the future. Now, in speaking of the next iPhone, the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, or whatever they call it, it looks like we're going to gain the LiDAR sensor that we get with the new iPads Pro. And that makes sense to give it depth sensing and more AR capability. And of course, they could just place it in the bottom right, make everything symmetrical like Apple always does, place it there and have a LiDAR sensor that would sense depth and give us some additional capability and more accurate portrait modes and things like that. It makes a lot of sense that Apple is pushing all of this AR technology into the iPhone as well. And then also, one thing that I'm pretty excited for is potentially sensor stabilization or sensor shift stabilization. And what that means is instead of using the optical image stabilization, or maybe in combination with, they would have a sensor that moves also. And you get this with cameras like the one I'm using now, the GH5, where it actually stabilizes the sensor at the same time as the lens, giving it a super stabilization that's optical and not done digitally. So I would love to see that in future updates, and hopefully we see that. I don't know if it will be with the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, but it could be. But it looks like that phone may be delayed maybe a month or more based on everything going on now. And I think that would be okay for most. Maybe instead of a September launch, we'd see an October or November launch. But hopefully things will ramp back up in time. China is saying that they don't have any production delays, so it's really hard to say, but who knows what's going on, what will happen as far as that goes. Now, as far as the iPhone 9 is concerned, it looks like Apple is still working to release it. And this is the iPhone 8 Plus, but it looks like Apple will still have an iPhone 9 and 9 Plus, and will have a smaller and larger size with a dual lens camera. And it looks like it may be coming out in April now instead. Just like we had the iPads Pro and the MacBook Air in March, we may have the iPhone 9 in April with a starting price of $449 and maybe up to $549 with some more storage options. So it looks like that's something that would be coming pretty soon. It's probably done and ready to go, and we're just waiting for Apple to release it at this point. So I would love to see that, hopefully pretty soon, and if we do, of course, I'll get my hands on one. Now, in something that's actually out now, if you use Windows and you record in ProRes Raw, that's a RAW format for cameras that is specific to certain types of cameras. So if you have a Nikon Z6 or Z7, you can upgrade that using an Atomos recorder so that you can record in the ProRes RAW format, and then now you can import that into your Windows computer if you don't have a Mac. So they just released that today. And then also there was a leak of an unreleased version of Logic Pro. So Logic Pro is a recording and mastering application, sort of like Final Cut Pro, but for music on a Mac. So if you're not familiar with that, it looks like Apple's got a new one in the works. There was a leaked screenshot on their own website under education, and they've recently pulled it. So it looks like it's true. They're going to update it. Of course, they update this software all the time anyway, but it looks like there may be a new version coming soon. And again, we might see ARM-based Macs in 2021 look like they're still going to be coming. So ARM-based, we've got a lot of power in the new iPads Pro and the iPhone 11 Pro Max that we could just shift over to, say, a computer, maybe a MacBook or MacBook Air, have enough power for that. And then also USB 4 support looks like it may be coming in 2022. Now, this is a good thing because not only does it give us USB support, but Thunderbolt 3 would become Thunderbolt 4. USB 4 and Thunderbolt 4 are basically the same thing. There's no more confusion between the cables and everything else. It's just one standard. So I can't wait for USB 4 support and everything. And so it seems like that's coming. And then finally, Apple stores were supposed to start opening in April, but with current things going the way they're going, it looks like May might be more likely. So they did say they'd like to have them all open in May, but it looks like maybe May or June at this point. So it's hard to say, but of course that may shift around as well. And everything's sort of in flux right now and may kind of move around based on what's going on. That's it for all of the information from this past week up to today. And of course, if there's more reliable information, I'll be making videos on those as well. And all of the references to the people that this information is from will be found in the description as well. And thanks again to iUpdate for letting me use some of their images. I really appreciate that. And also, I look forward to iOS 13.4.1 or iOS 13.5 betas. And if those come out, of course, I'll keep you updated with those also. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description as I always do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.